Hi, my name is Perez. I'm 39 years old. Just separated from the Navy and integrating back into civilian life. Married, have one child, and I love IT. I was in the Navy for about 5 years. The integration back into civilian life was a little bit rough, but thanks to CIAT and having a career, a purpose, kind of helped me get back on track and take ownership of my life. Getting out of the Navy, it's a completely different world, civilian life. So it took a little bit of adjusting, the disciplines, the routine. So getting used to that was very hard. Adjusting or, just getting back to civilian life is, I know it might be hard to understand, but, from waking up in the morning, making your rack, chafing, mustard, right, the division, and, getting the plan of the day, to just trying to do it by yourself, or maybe not being sure, okay, I did all that, now what, right? That is something that, you don't think about leaving the military. So that's something I had to learn to do, discipline to have to do it by myself or plan accordingly on what I wanted to achieve that day, that week, that month. All of a sudden it's just clear, your schedule is clear and there's nothing, so what, just 7 a.m., right? You're ready for the day. So the adjustment of, getting back to civilian life, from the routine and the discipline, waking up in the morning, everything ready, shaved, rag made, and then you wonder, what now? I then started looking for, what can I do? How can I contribute, continue my purpose as I was used to doing every day. I looked around, see what, could give me a decent living, and under that fell IT. I looked into CIAT and I didn't have to look far. They were easy to reach out to me. And tell me, educate me on how I could achieve becoming, one of those IT professionals. I thought I needed, a degree. I needed to, chase that, bachelor's and basically dedicate 4 years of my life to that. But, I was incorrect. They explained to me very clearly how it's, more the certifications, getting that experience, getting, the internship, getting your name in there. And, I'm glad that advice was given to me instead of finding out and wasting an additional years, after maybe getting a degree doing that. I started first with a certification program, successfully completed that, rolled into an associate's program. It was so easy to, transition into another, based on the needs that I then needed. Starting in the workforce also, right? It's completely different, right? So I had a hard time implementing my vision, right, into what I wanted to do, into, let's say, a civilian job. My option then was to start a business. With that, then I was able to, put my dream into reality on how I wanted to help people, how I wanted to contribute. What I realized, right, real quick is that, there's a cybersecurity problem, right? Just with for everyone, including myself, businesses, everything. And in the jobs, they adhere to a lot of maybe, I would say, more, bureaucratic or, more goals, right? This needs to be achieved at a certain time. What I wanted to focus on was, that the people understood what is in it for them and why it is important. So I wanted to make sure that, the customers or the people that I'm helping were able to, really understand that this is something that could help them. But it's something that is, protect your business, yourself, your privacy and everything. And that's really been my goal, and that's what I try to continue to achieve in my business. It was unwilling. It wasn't, everybody came to me and said, hey, you want to start a business? But I realized that in IT, there's a lot of independent contractors. At least the people that I worked with, it was usually 2 or 3 people, or if not, a single person is basically working for a different company. So I realized that, that's kind of the way it goes. You get hired or you work for multiple companies at the same time. So that, for me it seemed like a pattern. It seemed like, that's kind of how this goes. And, I ended up in the same situation. I'm happy I did. I did not get any particular training. I felt confident concordance actually with what I learned in school, because a lot of the instructors also have a job, which is interesting, right? So they have the job and they're also instructors, so they're able to explain, oh well, this is how we do it here, but there's other situations where, so that also helped, and you see that then in the real world, like, oh, okay, this is actually how it does work. Regarding the starting a business, that was also an interesting chapter by itself, from something where I did not expect it. It came from one of my employers actually, because during my interview, one of the questions was, what do you have planned in the future? And I said, a business. But that's just something you say because it's a goal, but you don't really think about it. And somewhere during my 6-month review, he goes, how's your business doing? I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you said you wanted to start a business. Like, yeah, but I don't even know where to start. He's like, oh, that's easy. I've started businesses. We can take 15 minutes of our weekly meeting and, talk about how to start. And, I was even taken aback by that, because in a way it's his time, right? He's paying me to do a job, and he took 15 minutes to basically mentor me. And I still consider him a mentor until this day. So I was really, really thankful for that. And that was in the industry, so me getting a job. So if I hadn't, taken the leap of saying, hey, I don't want to do a 9 to 5. I don't want to deal with nobody. That could have kneecapped my future, and I'm very thankful that I took that, that opportunity, or just that, leap of faith to do that. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's a generational thing, or if it's, maybe our parents just telling you, go to school and you find a job, right? You go to school and you do something. And that is not always how it works, right? So I was also under the impression, I'm kind of the Navy. I can go to school, so I guess I get a degree and I will get a job. And what was key for me, and that definitely was hammered or reminded to me by it was the admissions officers, like, Perez, don't focus on the degree. In IT, the degree is good, but it's going to be the certifications. Focus on the certification. And I heard that over and over again, and it was kind of foreign to me at first, because focus on certifications, yeah, but then what? But I quickly realized that in the real world, in the IT, environment, is the certifications, not the degrees. Of course, to advance and, to also at the end of the knowledge, the trajectory, you do get a degree. But it was the certifications, me getting my Security Plus, my ITF Plus, my A Plus, right? A cloud, development, all those things in a way build my career more than actually getting the degree itself. Now I have the degrees, but it was the certifications that actually got me the job. I believe that getting the certification is the whole point. It's free, so it's included as many times as you want, which to me gave me peace of mind, because if they had told me, oh, you can do it only twice, now I'm counting down, right? So now, okay, strike one. And imagine if you only have one strike left, so that would definitely stress me out. So the fact that, hey, don't worry, you can take it as many times as you want. You have to do a practice exam. So I wasn't stressed anymore about taking the certification exams, because it was unlimited, right? And all I had to do, even if I failed one, I just had to do a practice exam again, show that I practiced a little bit, pass it, and then take the exam again. And there's that pressure being taken away is valuable, because I'm not counting down. I'm not worried about, okay, this is the last chance or not. And I took that advice from one of my first instructors. He was like, the first thing you want to do, you don't take the exam, the certification exam, right after you finish the class. He said, take a couple of weeks, retreat, study, and then take it. And remember, there's no, pressure. You test it out. Actually, the first exam you fail it, guess what? Now you know the format of the exam. Next time you go in, that's taken away. You don't have to worry about how it feels, what to do, where to go, who the proctor is, right? So although that first layer of stress is taken away, even if you fail the first exam. So all that felt very comfortable to me. So I always, up until today, go into an exam like kind of free. Like, hey, I'm doing this. I know I studied. I passed the course. So in theory, I should be good to go, So I think people should not be afraid to take that step. You get prepared. There are preparation courses, even if you failed multiple times. There's courses where they, let's go all over together. There's focus groups. There's study groups. There's many resources that, to get you in a way more familiar with the format of the exam. And at least it helped me. I've passed, at least 4 exams, and, some failed, some passed on the second. And here I am, so I feel like if that's the fear of, passing an exam, I would say do not worry, that shouldn't be an issue. Right now, the interesting thing is, it was funny because when you get a pass certification, you get a badge, something that I didn't know, right? You get a badge, a digital badge. So now, instead of writing what I did in my last resume, is instead of writing, past security plus date and whatnot, try to explain what it is. I can simply, because you get the right, I think when they send it to you, you get the right to place the badge on your resume. Just that badge, a lot of times I didn't have to explain nothing. The person said, oh, you're security plus certified. Oh, you have, you know how to work with, AWS cloud or, Microsoft cloud services. Yes. And that's all it took. I didn't have to, line out each of the usually you have a degree and you need to explain what it focuses on majors, none of that. So the certifications on my resume were very powerful. I did realize that real quick. And therefore, my admissions officer, my student counselor was, actually spot on. The people looked at it, they look at you and say, oh, you have the security plus, and that's it. And that I never seen such a, something so small, I guess, is a badge having that impact. Usually it's, oh, let me read. Oh, tell me more about this degree or about this project. With the certifications, I didn't have to do that. And the nice thing is they're general, right? They're global. In IT, everybody recognizes them. Network plus, security plus, A plus, right? So I don't have to explain a lot, and I really, it feels good when, hey, I did it. They don't ask how many times you tried. They didn't ask how many times you failed, right? You have it, you show up, and everybody looks satisfied. So the certifications on my resume were very powerful. I did realize that real quick, and therefore, my admissions officer, my student counselor was, actually spot on. There's a different challenge going through the course, and then because now in a way when you finish the course you're by yourself, so now you have to do the exam, and I think maybe that's where people are like, okay, so what do I do now? So getting the real world advice from the CIAT instructors, right, was, I think, very important. First of all, they are also working IT professionals, so they usually during the class, talk about their experience and how things are applied in the real world. Coming as a veteran, not sure how many people will understand, but at least I felt that I didn't have a lot of time to waste. I can't go to a degree and then figure it out. So the more real world information I can get, the more real world application, I want to know, how can I use this? Or how is this used? This tool, is it just the standard theory, or is it what actually happened as a real life application? And them, giving those little nuggets of information, was very valuable. As soon as you then hit, the real world, you notice that, you notice what is expected, what the job wants, what is the tools they give you, and what is, the practicality or how it's actually being used and applied. So that shortcuts, the time, the learning curve, the stress, right, of figuring out bugs by yourself or issues or, whatever, things, hurdles come along your way. So definitely them having real life experience, or at least highlighting it. Some of them are retired, right? Some of them are even military, right? Definitely, I felt gave me an edge of, instead of just coming fresh out of a, recently graduated student and, not having any experience, it made it at least, it made me familiar with the practicality of a lot of things that I learned during the courses. My passions are helping people. When I see someone struggle, even a simple thing, in IT, I want to help, right? How can I make it? Maybe my thought is, how can I make this easier? And there are the tools there. We have the technology. So a lot of times it's just the connection, right? The patience. I've heard that feedback before, that I am patient. So you want to sit down and say, hey, don't worry. All we need to do, am I doing it wrong? That's okay. I did it wrong the first time, right? Or this for configuration doesn't make sense the way they named it, right? So it's okay. We all make that. So, the sitting down and going step by step through a process with something is, my passion. Just explaining and seeing the result at the end. My mom is a teacher, right? So I'm not sure if I never saw myself as a teacher, and I don't think I'll be in front of a class, but definitely passing on or, showing someone how to do something, right? Or like you mentioned, the digital literacy I think it's important, right? Because we have the tools, like I said, The people are there. So usually it's just the interaction between those two components, right? So when I see that lacking, I get that urge to help out. And also, clarifying to the person that, hey, this is something good for you, right? This is actually more than just a job or a device. This actually you could use to your benefit. So a lot of times, I try to fill in that gap, and I enjoy doing that, like showing. And then now they're like, hey, I can do this by myself. And that feels very good. It's hard to think all the way in the future, but I would like, my business to become self-sustaining. I don't aspire an empire. I just aspire to, have a comfortable life with my family. Whatever, God decides. But, that is it. I don't ask for much, just a loving and caring, network of people around me and, to live the rest of my days. I don't know how to get a lot of people to understand that we in the military, we do it, just so you know, right? We do it for all different kinds of reasons, right? Some people for school, some people because of necessity, some people to escape a community. I've heard so many stories. But we are all proud to serve our country, and once you go out there, you realize that we are protecting something that I think not everybody realizes, right? And to understand how hard it is sometimes for to just readjust, so if people think like, oh, well, why would you do that? So I explained the first one because, whatever reason you decided, everybody then does it. And it's very, very, very hard to come back, to reintegrate. I was already out there, so for me it was slightly easy. I already had an idea what was there, but you have to remember there's people there who come straight from high school and then in a way after that, have to then figure out life. So I would ask for patience. I know we're stubborn. I know veterans do their own thing, right? I understand that. I know, right? But patience. Sometimes the information is too much. You'll hear a lot of times like, oh, there's so many resources. Yes, there are. There are actually too many. There's a lot of resources, but it's hard to sort through them or go through it or click on links or, stay on the phone or press number 1 for this, and then you get hung up, right? So I would ask for patience, kind of help us out, get back there, and we can be productive. We're all in this boat together, So I would just ask for patience from everyone. CIAT indeed did, help me navigate, the great amount of resources that are there that are sometimes overwhelming, right? So at least the educational aspects, I was guided through very well. I was like, my hand being held through that process, through the paperwork, through what needed to be signed, to what needed to be approved. I didn't feel alone, throughout that process because, there was someone taking care of it. And I really, really, really appreciate that because it is so overwhelming, all the resources thrown at you, but if you don't know where to start. So I'm very thankful for CIAT for, taking care of that part. I was born in Suriname. Suriname is a foreign Dutch colony on the northeast coast of South America, about 500,000 people. I left for foreign exchange, to pursue my career abroad, in this case in Mexico. I met my wife during my studies, and of course you go where the wife lives, so I ended up in San Diego. Even with a career, it was pretty hard finding a job. So, I decided in order to provide for my family, to join, the United States Navy. I, at that point needed, of course, healthcare, finances, and I was glad that I could give back as, the United States given me my family, my home, my dog. And I was very, very honored to give back. And I'm very proud to have served the United States Navy and to be part of, this big brotherhood. And, I can trace all that back of, just, me being a young boy and trying to be a scientist and, how can I be a part of this world? The people looked at it, they look at you and say, oh, you have the security plus, and that's it. And that I never seen such a, something so small, I guess, is a badge having that impact. Usually it's, oh, let me read, oh, tell me more about this degree or about this project. With the certifications, I didn't have to do that. And the nice thing is they're general, right? They're global. In IT, everybody recognizes them. So network plus, security plus, A plus, right? So I don't have to explain a lot, and I really it feels good when, hey, I did it. They don't ask how many times you tried. They didn't ask how many times you failed, right? You have it, you show up, and everybody looks satisfied. So getting the real world advice from the CIAT instructors, right, was, I think, very important. First of all, they are also working IT professionals. So they usually during the class, talk about their experience and how things are applied in the real world. Coming as a veteran, not sure how many people will understand, but at least I felt that I didn't have a lot of time to waste. I can go to a degree and then figure it out. So the more real world information I can get, the more real world application, I want to know, how can I use this? Or how is this used? This tool, is it just the standard theory, or is it what actually happened as a real life application? And them, giving those little nuggets of information, was very valuable, because as soon as you then hit, the real world, you notice that, you notice what is expected, what the job wants, what is the tools they give you, and what is the practicality, or how it's actually being used and applied. So that shortcuts the time, the learning curve, the stress, right, of figuring out bugs by yourself, or issues, or whatever things, hurdles come along your way. So definitely them having real life experience, or at least highlighting it. Some of them are retired, right? Some of them are even military, right? Definitely, I felt gave me an edge of instead of just coming fresh out of a recently graduated student and not having any experience. It made it at least made me familiar with the practicality of the lot of things that I learned during the courses.